Welcome back into the Fantrax Toolshed YouTube channel. Eric Cross with you here. Going to be discussing my top 10 2023 catcher prospect rankings. But before I do, hit that subscribe button below to check out all the other great video we have on the channel. Before I get into the actual top 10, wanted to give a little bit of love to my honorable mention here. My number 11 catching prospect, Edgar Quero, definitely deserves to be in a top 10 like this, but there's so much good in high upside offensive talent at this position that he just can't find a spot in this top 10 right now. But a lot of this top 10 is going to graduate, probably at least half of it in 2023. So expect to see him definitely in this type of video next year and probably maybe even a top 5 catching prospect by the middle of the season. So go on and get him right now. Still a decent value in dynasty leagues. But now let's get to the top 10. We'll go two at a time here, starting with Kevin Parada from the New York Mets. First round pick in this past draft. Very good all around offensive catcher. Can hit for average, can get on base, can hit for power. Probably a 270 type of hitter, 25 home runs, good OBP. And I think even though he's not the best defensive catcher, I think he's solid enough to stick behind the plate long term. And I think this is going to be just a very good offensive catcher for a very long time, and probably one that you could see, maybe middle to late 2024. Should rise fairly quickly. Number 9, Henry Davis. I could have flip flopped these two, and I almost did. Maybe I will before opening day. Davis is just good. He's a good all-around catcher on both sides of the ball. Doesn't stand out to me in any one spot offensively. That OBP is a little misleading because you see his walk rate's only 8.2%, hit 264. You're probably like, hey, that doesn't add up for a 380 OBP. Probably shouldn't be that high. But OBP factors in hit by pitch, and he was hit 20 times in just 255 plate appearances. So that's something obviously you can't bank on moving forward. I still think he's gonna be good. Like I said, I think he can hit 260. I think he can have a decent enough OBP and probably low 20s home runs. But I still think he's gonna be a big standout. But definitely a major league caliber starting catcher that will be there behind the plate long term. He's a good defender as well. Let's go to the next two here, 8 and 7. We shift to Diego Cartaya, a little bit younger than the previous two, or at least younger than Davis, a little bit less in the developmental process as well. But Cartaya has shown good power. He's a plus raw power bat. Hit for a good average in 2021, average dipped in 2022, but the high OBP has remained. The high walk rate has remained. There's a little bit of a swing and miss issue that'll need to be kind of curbed a bit, but it's not a huge issue right now. I just don't know where he fits in long term. Luckily, the National League has the DH now, which absolutely helps. Because obviously Will Smith is there long term, and they also have Dalton Rushing, who was one that just missed this list as well. They can they can find the catching talent there in Los Angeles, that's for sure. Love Cartaya, very good power bat long term. Probably up sometime in 2024, second half of the year or so. Bo Naylor, one of actually the first one on this list so far to have debuted, and I'm not putting there's a few guys that debuted, him, Ohapi, etc. Didn't put their major league stats because it was 12 at bats, 14 at bats. No need to put that on the slot here. Bo Naylor adds that speed element that you rarely see at catcher, and I think it's legit. Is he gonna go 2020 every year? No, probably not. But he's a high OBP guy, gets on base at a very high clip, draws a lot of walks, and I think he could be a guy that's a 20 homer, maybe just a 10 steal guy. I don't think he's quite Dalton Varsho, but maybe take 90% or 85 to 90% on Varsho, and that could be, maybe it's still a higher an outcome for Bo Naylor, but there's a lot of upside with Naylor, so definitely like him a lot, and he's a guy that should get some run this year in Cleveland. Next two here, 6 and 5, Tyler Soderstrom from Oakland. Probably a first baseman long term, just due to the presence of Shea Langoliers, and Sean Murphy's still there as of this current moment on December 9th when I'm recording this, but he's probably leaving town soon. A lot of rumors, but Soderstrom probably at first base because of Langoliers, much better defensive catcher. Soderstrom's the guy on this list I feel the least, least confident about, because Oakland, I just don't trust their player development org. There's been a lot of issues, especially with approach. The approach has kind of gone south for a lot of guys, a lot of top names in this org, and you already see that it's okay, but not good walk rate. It's a little bit of a higher K rate. I'm just worried that those are going to continue to trend the wrong way. But the power's legit. It's plus power, but bad park, bad lineup there for the foreseeable future. I like Soderstrom, but I don't know. He's one of the guys that might slide down rankings moving forward as opposed to going up. But speaking of rising up rankings, the Hoppy, 100% legit. I'm definitely a believer in Logan O'Hoppy. Outside of the great last name, this dude has just been he was good in 2021, even better in 2022. Looked good out in the AFL last year when I saw him live out there for first pitch and all that fun stuff that goes on every October, November. Hits for power, gets on base, great approach. He was one of the very few number of bats in the minor leagues that had this like the level or the combination of average OBP, walk rate, K rate, ISO that OB had. And even he played in Double A exclusively this year. Got that little bit of that cup of coffee with the Angels on the stretch, and should be their starting catcher for most of the season. Maybe they give him a little bit of time in Triple A. Who knows? But Logan O'Hoppy is legit. Definitely buy in dynasty leagues. At number 4, these two I flip flop a lot. I love Harry Ford. I think the upside is there. Is he a catcher long term? Maybe. I'm not sure. 50-50 right now. If I had to guess, probably moves off the position, but not, it's not out of the realm possibility for him to stick behind the plate as well, or at least enough to retain eligibility, maybe in the Dalton Varsho type of role where outfield with enough catching time to keep that eligibility. Stats last year were good, but I think there's more in the tank there. I think he's an above average hitter with a potential for above average power and above average to plus speed as well. And he's had shown the ability to draw walks already at a young age. This getting that power to the next level is going to be the key for Ford. But he's one that I think is a bit undervalued right now. Definitely the upside is there for an even bigger rise up rankings in 2023. Austin Wells is, I think, funny enough, for a Yankees prospect that has done as well as he has, I think he's still underrated a bit. Look at last year, 3 levels, hit 20 home runs, stole 16 bases, and it's not been caught. He's 32 for 32 in his minor league career stealing of single A either. He had was 5 steals, and I think it was like under 100 plate appearances. I'd have to go back and look. Double A, but he still was stealing Double A is what I'm trying to say there. A little bit older than what the other guys on this list, but left-handed power bat, above average hitter, plus power, some speed at Yankee Stadium. Those lefty power bats, Yankee Stadium, very, very beautiful thing. Great combination. I think he's going to be a very good offensive catcher. And again, a guy that may play outside of the position as well, not exclusively as a catcher, but the bat is legit. The all-around talent is legit. And I think he's a lot closer to these next two or especially the next one, than people kind of realize. I think he's definitely very close to number 2 here, which is maybe a little bit surprise. It's Francisco Alvarez. He's not my number 1. These two are close. The top 3 are all very close for me. Alvarez, nothing. This is not a knock on him whatsoever. Power is legit. Can draw walks. Can get on base. I don't think he's much more than a 260-ish hitter, which is exactly what he hit last year. But there's 25 to 30 home runs in this bat. The Mets lineup is always going to be good as long as Steve Cohen's spending like a drunken sailor. So no worries there. He's going to stick behind the plate. No worries there either. Can get a bit swing and miss. There's a little too much swing and miss in this game. Can get a little swing happy at times. Though the K rate wasn't terrible, a tick under 25%. But the reason why I have Andy Rodriguez here at number 1 is I think the bat is super underrated. It's a hit for 20, 25 more points than average. I think he's 280 plus. I think he's around 25 home runs. So I think that when you factor that in, the batting average difference and the power difference, it's going to be pretty close. And he can also add just a couple of steals as well. Again, it's nitpicking, but I think I'd rather have the higher average bat in Andy Rodriguez. But again, you can't go wrong either way with these two here. That is going to wrap up this video here on the channel. Make sure you hit subscribe below. Check out all the other videos we have on the channel, and I'll see you next time.